So this is an updated version of Hexagram 3. And this one, I have my son in it. I got this today. Actually, I got this a few days ago. And when I was listening to myself on the replay, because I don't like listening to the other version the other guy made, I could hear some mistakes in here. I could also hear myself drifting in and out of presence. So I'm going to do this one again. And I'll also update this in the YouTube, so you'll know that it's an updated version. I've had this 3 times before, different lines. 22nd of April, 1 and 4, 1 and 6, and now most recently 1 and 3, yesterday. So if my son decides to want to make more protests than I like, I will be stopping this and starting it again, or cutting it and doing a little bit of it later. Otherwise, most people that listen to this and hear my son talking in here they're okay with it. Like, they actually enjoy hearing Tommy's protests. So here we go. I'm going to do some bouncing to settle him. And he's going to go for his what is it? It's, I don't know, this late night nap before he has his longer nap. So here we go. Hexagram 3, making a new beginning. The judgment. It furthers one to persevere in not undertaking anything until clarity is attained. It furthers one to appoint helpers. While hexagrams 1 and 2 describe the basic nature of the cosmos, the sage has used this hexagram to define the human place in it. A person receives this hexagram at times when he is making a new beginning, whether it be in his relationship with himself or another, in his job, or in his learning a new lesson from the sage. The hexagram wants to make him aware that the new beginning is a cosmic gift after a fate that he had created has ended. In order to make a real new beginning, he needs to attain clarity about the cosmic law of fate. See glossary, fate. The cosmic gift that enables the person... I'm going to actually go do that right now. Let's go have a look at fate. Glossary. Fate. I don't think I did this in the other version. I didn't. C, D, E, E, F. Went too far. Fate and destiny. Fate is the term used in this volume to describe the adversities created when a person violates the cosmic harmonics. Fate is an automatic reaction of the cosmos to such violations. The word destiny describes the true purpose of an individual's life in a body to bring to maturation his true self. When he is in harmony with the cosmos, he receives all the help he needs from the invisible world to express his uniqueness and to develop his cosmic gifts, his abilities and talents. Through fulfilling his destiny, he also contributes to the constant evolution of the cosmic consciousness, because he realizes the various kinds of consciousnesses he is born with. Fate is that part of the cosmic harmonics that ensures the continuation of harmony. It also has the purposes: 1. To compensate for the damage done to the cosmic whole; 2. To bring the person literally back from his head to his senses; and 3. To make him aware of his mistaken ideas and beliefs; and 4. To reduce him to an attitude of openness and humility that will help him shake loose the hold of the ego. The severity of fate corresponds to the degree needed to wake him up. This depends upon the degree of his rigidity, the strength of his attachment to his mistaken ideas and beliefs, and to the degree of his arrogance. Fate comes to an end when it has fulfilled its purposes. It can be reached in different ways. 1. By bringing the person to the state of burnout, in which he sees how his mistaken ideas have led to a dead end. 2. When he has of his own accord sought its causes and rid himself of them. Or 3. When the fate has run its full course of time. In this latter case, the person may not have corrected his viewpoint, but the fate has run out of its time, like a prison sentence. See page 542, Freeing Yourself from a Fate. It's really helpful in the context of this hexagram. Just take that in, yeah? And back to the hexagram. The cosmic gift that enables the person to make a new beginning may have come as an inheritance, a love relationship, a child, or help of any kind. Such gifts are expressions of the cosmos's nature's generosity in increasing everything that is in harmony with it. One purpose of fate is to bring a person back to humility, which is a state of being in harmony with the cosmos. The gift makes him experience what it is like to be in that harmony, and thus participate in the constant stream of blessings that come from the cosmos. At this point, the person is uncertain how to relate to his gift. The lines of this hexagram offer him guidance in this respect. The first step is for him to recognize its cosmic nature. The second is to recognize its purpose. The gift he has received is meant to help him free his true self. It wants to be seen as giving him an opportunity to deepen his understanding of the dynamics of life, both in its visible and invisible aspects. The third step is to acknowledge his responsibility to the gift. This responsibility is to not allow the ego to appropriate the gifts to its purposes, which would happen if it were used to develop a new self-image, such as that of the benefactor or person of influence, money gift. In the case of receiving the gift of a child, the danger lies in adopting a self-image that fulfills the role of the mother and the role of the father or head of the family, as defined by the collective ego. In the case of the gift of a love relationship, the self-image might be that of the man who dominates or the woman who yields, or vice versa. In all such new beginnings, the ego, which has not yet been routed, stands on the side offering flattering suggestions as to how the person can gain extra status or advantage through the gift. As the servant of the collective ego, if he listens to these suggestions or entertains them in any way, the ego succeeds in remaining in control. As the servant of the collective ego, the individual ego is always a robber waiting to steal a person's cosmic gifts, to turn them to the collective ego's use in hopes of gaining its approval, rewards, and authorization. When the person allows the ego to seize the gift, he creates a new fate. A person frequently receives this hexagram when, upon beginning his lessons with the sage that speaks to the I Ching, he unconsciously transports into his lessons his preconceived ideas, fears, expectations, and pre-structured ways of approaching situations. So long as these pre-existing elements are in place, nothing should be undertaken, because they would unconsciously influence the situation. What is true here is true for all the other new beginnings mentioned. This hexagram also refers to a person who, after he has experienced the burnout of a mistaken idea or belief, seeks to make a new beginning. This new beginning will not be possible, however, if he carries forward his anger, disappointment, and fear of further failure, as these would prevent him from having the openness needed to communicate with the sage or appoint helpers, as the judgment recommends, referring to the helpers of the invisible world. I'm going to read that again. This is such an important paragraph. Really take this in, yeah? This hexagram also refers to a person who, after he has experienced the burnout of a mistaken idea or belief, seeks to make a new beginning, like the dark night of the soul, right? This new beginning will not be possible, however, if he carries forward his anger, disappointment, and fear of further failure, as these would prevent him from having the openness needed to communicate with the sage or appoint helpers, as the judgment recommends, referring to the helpers of the invisible world. This hexagram also wants to make the beginning student of the I Ching aware that his situation of the moment is the material to which he is meant to apply what he learns. Another really important sentence. This hexagram also wants to make the beginning student of the I Ching, that is you and me, aware that his situation of the moment is the material to which he is meant to apply what he learns. Like what's going on right now, like in the present, this moment, right here, right now. I'm going to highlight that bad boy. Moreover, no detail of his experience is too small or insignificant to be of use in this learning process. I'll highlight that. The sage does not teach theoretical lessons, but uses the situation at hand to teach him that each situation contains an inner truth that is not obvious to the eye. It then shows him the new way he is meant to relate to situations, as for example, by saying the inner no to what is incorrect and calling on the helpers of the invisible world to do what is necessary to correct it. It furthers one to persevere and not undertake anything, also refers to the suspension of disbelief that is necessary before a new beginning can take place. The sage realizes that each person brings with him belief systems that are in conflict with what he learns. The sage never engages in argument or in efforts to prove anything, but allows the student to discover the truth for himself, often repeatedly, until he knows it from within. Even this cannot take place, however, unless the student is willing to temporarily put aside his distrust and at least temporarily suspend his disbelief. This effort alone is required. Another mistake of the beginner is to transfer onto the sage all his existing ideas of authority, including that of the highest authority. He needs to recognize that this is the activity of the ego, which, by putting the sage on a pedestal, seeks to gain favors in exchange for obeisance. Obeisance. Oh, my ears are ringing. The sage retreats whenever the ego is present, and the messages the person receives become confused. See page 25, The Sage. Another obstruction to learning from the sage is the fear that the sage will require the person to change in a manner that he is unable or unwilling to do. In fact, the sage will present him only with truths that he is capable of understanding and following, and which he can clearly see are in harmony with his true nature. Other fears connected with the beginning are expressed as doubt. What is it, the I Ching? Will it tell me the truth? Can I rely on it? Can I trust it? Will it protect me? Will it punish me if I make a mistake? What if it says something that is against my beliefs? Will I fall under its influence and not be able to get free? Will it mean I will have to leave my family, friends, partner, or be abandoned by them? Will it ask me to change myself so that I am no longer the person I am now? Is the sage evil? All these doubts belong to the ego and its fears of being displaced by the true self. Once the person begins to discover his inner truth, the sage makes no demands that a person do anything. It only helps him to see his inner truth. I'll say that bit again. The sage makes no demands that a person do anything. It only helps him to see his inner truth. So important. The sage also does not ask a person to trust or have faith. It makes itself available to show the sincere student how his fears block him from realizing his inner truth, how they create in his psyche the demonic sphere of consciousness that attempts to rule his life. It shows him how, by taking away the mistaken beliefs he has adopted from the collective ego, he can learn the true way of the cosmos and free his true nature, which is in harmony with the whole. And read that sentence again. It shows him how, by taking away the mistaken beliefs he has adopted from the collective ego, he can learn the true way of the cosmos and free his true nature, which is in harmony with the whole. The beginner also needs to understand that the sage does not teach beliefs. Moreover, it discourages him from adopting any. A frequent mistake of the beginner is to look around for other belief systems to replace the ones he has discarded. This is because he has been falsely taught as a child that he needs a belief system, because his inner truth is not trustworthy, and because he is not capable of having his own connection with the cosmos. That's huge. Highlighting. Accordingly, he may easily fall into the temptation to see the I Ching as teaching the same universal truths contained in all religions. He needs to realize that this is but one more ploy of the collective ego to remain in control through equating what he learns from the sage with conventional beliefs. In this way, it provides a platform for likening the sage with the enlightened human beings it recognizes. Another misunderstanding that occurs at the beginning comes from thinking in terms of changes rather than transformations. The I of the I Ching has been translated either as changes or transformation. Because the two have been used interchangeably in China, because the two have been used interchangeably in China, the sage makes us aware that harmony with the cosmos is not to be achieved through making superficial changes, such as changing one's mind, habits, or attitudes. True change is impossible so long as a person retains the false program interjected into his psyche during childhood. Transformations occur on the base level of consciousness when he deprograms the false phrases and images of this program. A true new beginning requires that he examine and rid himself, with the help of the RTCM, of the false basic premises that underlie all belief systems he has accepted into his psyche, whether consciously or unconsciously. He needs to add nothing. What is uncovered through this effort is his true self that is in harmony with the cosmos. This is the effort that leads to transformation by engaging the helpers of the invisible world. This is also the meaning indicated by Lao Tzu when he described freeing the true self as daily diminishing aspects of the ego. The particular helper associated with this hexagram is one that helps us find the root phrases and images, spells, and projections stored in our psyche that discourage us from making a new beginning. That's a big helper. I'm going to say that name again, and there might be a shorter name, and when I was contemplating it before, maybe you just need to be present with that name. I'm going to say it again. The particular helper associated with this hexagram is the one that helps us find the root phrases and images, spells, and projections stored in our psyche that discourage us from making a new beginning. Then highlight that one. Okay, it's a new helper. The robber mentioned in line 2 is the collective ego that poses as a helper, having the right solution. These solutions always propose handling the situation by external means and by taking outer action. Spells connected with this hexagram often have to do with phrases or images that present new beginnings as difficult. They are difficult only so long as a person does not recognize the existence of the sage and the helpers, and does not ask for their help. Plunging ahead without a clear view of the inner truth of a situation certainly leads to difficulties. Among such phrases are, "I would not know where to begin," as an excuse not to begin, and "all beginnings are difficult." Such thinking incorrectly views developing oneself as contorting one's nature into a model form. The effort to liberate the true self under the sage's guidance does not burden the person with endless chores and false disciplines. It frees him from within through stages of growth. Each time a person rids himself of a spell, he frees helpers within himself, making the task easier and easier as he goes. Now for the next bit, the lines. I'm going to have a drink of water. Water. Oh, so good. Make sure you're drinking water. Line 1. Hesitate because there is a hindrance. It furthers to remain persevering. It furthers to appoint helpers. A person can receive this line when at the beginning of a situation he feels impelled to take action simply from the belief that taking no action is weak or bad. The word hesitate indicates that he lacks clarity, therefore it is unfavorable to take any outer action. The person needs to discover and eliminate the mistaken beliefs he holds about his true nature, which are the hindrances mentioned. They prevent his seeing with clarity his true nature, which is composed of helpers, possesses everything he needs to live his life in harmony with nature. His true nature also connects him with all the helping aspects of the cosmos. His mistaken ideas and beliefs have put spells both on his true nature and on the cosmic helpers, blocking their harmonious functioning. Taking away these spells will free his feelings from which true clarity comes. To identify the phrases of the spells, he needs the help of the sage and the helpers of the invisible world. He must persist in this effort by using the RTCM until he has been assured by the sage that he has correctly and adequately identified them. See page 540, Freeing Yourself from Mistaken Ideas and Beliefs. Spells connected with this line are contained in the phrase, "There is no one to help me but myself." This spell imprisons a person's personal helpers through his believing that everything needs to be accomplished by mental calculation, effort, and striving. Such a person carries the world on his shoulders. The belief that a person's animal nature is inferior and that to become free of it, he needs to develop his spiritual nature. This idea divides a person's wholeness into parts that are considered antagonistic. A person's true nature is inextricably connected with his body, which is the vehicle for receiving chi energy, life force, from the cosmos. Disdain of the body blocks the nourishing and healing chi and thus creates susceptibility to illness. Such a person needs the help of the sage to free his animal nature from this spell/slander. The idea that all things have their origin in ideas. The cosmic consciousness originates things from its feelings, not from ideas. The person who holds this idea has put a spell/slander on his feelings so that he looks to ideas for truth rather than to his feelings. He has done so by accepting the flattery that his two frontal lobes are the most important part of his brain. This belief has also created another spell on the rest of his brain, which has been dismissed as primitive. The spell has also blocked many synapses and capabilities of the dismissed parts of the brain. See page 546, What are spells? This line may also indicate a person who wishes to act just to end the ambiguity that accompanies not acting. Instead, the person needs to inwardly ask the sage to be guided. If he remains open, the answer will show itself. If he gives the sage the necessary space by dispersing his distrust, say that line again. If he remains open, the answer will show itself. If he gives the sage the necessary space by dispersing his distrust. Dispersal of distrust is a conscious act of saying the inner no to phrases expressing doubt about the sage's existence and about its ability to respond and do what is needed. Line 2. Difficulties pile up. Horse and wagon turn about. If the robber were not there, the wooer would come. The maiden is faithful. She does not pledge herself. 10 years, then she pledges herself. This line points out that difficulties pile up. When a person interprets the words of the I Ching as verifying his mistaken ideas and beliefs, I'll say that again. This line points out that difficulties pile up when a person interprets the words of the I Ching as verifying his mistaken ideas and beliefs. This happens because he takes its words as literal calls to act outwardly and as an excuse to use power to make things happen. He does not realize that the sage can connect him only through the resonance of the specific words and phrases regarding his situation that comes through his feelings. If his mind is operating without any connection to his heart, say that again. If his mind is operating without any connection to his heart, the messages of the sage cannot get through to him. The wagon is a metaphor for his feelings, and the horse for the words. The message makes sense only when they are connected. Both are helpers that have come to help but have been turned back. The robber is a metaphor for the collective ego, which has interjected its conventional beliefs between the person and what the sage is trying to say. The maiden is faithful refers to the sage and the helpers that, being true to themselves, cannot give their support under these circumstances. 10 years is a metaphor that says the sage will never come as long as the person holds to those beliefs. The maiden is faithful also refers to situations in which a person is tempted to make a deal to be faithful to another in exchange for advantages gained. Such deals are inconsistent with his true self. Further, they involve him in obligations that are embarrassing and prevent his true partner from approaching. As this line makes clear, the person approaching with the deal does so with the intention of robbing him of something, his goods, his chi energy, his good name, his integrity, etc. Seed phrases that lead one to accept such deals are, you have to be willing to compromise to get along. You have to be willing to compromise to get along. There is no such thing as the right person for you. The right person/help always comes too late. You can't count on anything in this life. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Sometimes you have to settle for less. It's the best deal I'll ever get. In my circumstances, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. All such phrases create spells that keep a person locked into positions in which he must compromise himself. See page 550, Deprogramming Procedure. Line 3. Whoever hunts deer without the forester only loses his way in the forest. Line 3. Whoever hunts deer without the forester only loses his way in the forest. The forest in this line refers to demonized nature, but particularly to a person's nature. The hunting of deer is a metaphor for the hunting of demons that are populating his psyche due to spells. The forester represents the sage as the only one that can lead him in this hunt. The killing of these demons frees him to be his true self and ends his separation from nature and the cosmic whole. The hunter can also be a person who asks questions of the sage from idle curiosity just to be in the know about the way of the cosmos. Such a person takes for granted the human-centered view of the universe that humans have a right to know everything and the freedom to do whatever they want with nature. This line warns him that treating nature as a set of mechanics invokes a fate, his losing his way in the forest. This line also describes the person who believes the universe operates as a set of mechanics and sees the I Ching as defining how the mechanics work. The sage cannot communicate with him because his belief put a spell on his ability to understand. Two other spells referred to by this line have to do with the idea that to be in the know is to be like God. It is based on the second spell that says he is unworthy unless he knows the nature of good and evil. Line 4. Horse and wagon part. Return to the way. To go brings good fortune. Everything acts to further. The horse and wagon represent things that are meant to cooperate to achieve progress, as in the unity between thoughts and feelings, mind and heart. Here, the things meant to cooperate have been separated by spells and the wrong conclusions mentioned in the previous lines. Return to the Way counsels the person to rid himself of these impediments to his progress. A person makes true progress by ridding himself of the demons in his psyche. The collective ego, by contrast, would have him make progress by following the new path it proposes, leading him to a new fate. If he will only walk on the path of his inner truth, which has not been trod by anyone else, everything will act to further. Line 5. Difficulties in blessing. A little perseverance brings good fortune. Great perseverance brings misfortune. Here, the difficulties encountered refer to the retreat of the sage that occurs when the ego takes over a person's work on developing himself. The ego hopes, through ambitious and pious work, to be recognized by the sage as spiritual. The meaning of a little perseverance is to approach liberating the true self with modesty. This means not to forget to live one's life joyfully. The ego, in its striving, would drive the person to ascetic extremes and deprivations. This is the meaning of great perseverance brings misfortune. The problem with the idea of being spiritual is that it contains all the self-flattery that maintains the ego as leader of the personality. It further divides a person's true nature into a higher and lower self, splitting his wholeness and placing spells on what is believed to be his lower or animal nature. Accepting this idea creates a fate, which is usually that of illness. This line can also indicate a person whose progress is blocked due to mistaken beliefs about the purpose of human life. It can refer to human-centered beliefs such as, I have to do it all. Humans are the representatives of heaven on earth. Humans are responsible for making everything work and for creating order in the world. Such difficulties in blessing can be erased if he asks the sage to rid him. Such difficulties in blessing can be erased if he asks the sage to help him rid himself of these mistaken beliefs. This will engage the helper of transformation to remove the blocks created by these phrases in his inner program. Line 6. Horse and wagon part, bloody tears flow. Horse and wagon part refers to the doubt a person has that he will ever reach his goal, whether that be to unite with another to find the job that really suits him, or the freeing of his true self. Doubt, coming from the ego, has taken over his psyche, with the result being the bitter or bloody tears mentioned. The blood refers to the consequent loss of the will to go on. The underlying reason for not having attained his goal is that the ego was busy on the side, seeking to fulfill a certain image. For this reason, the help needed from the invisible world was not available. This help could come available if he would rid himself of the ego's ambition to fulfill the self-image. This line frequently refers to the goal of fulfilling the self-image of the superior man, referred to in Confucian versions of the I Ching, or the spiritual person. This line can also refer to the fate a person is experiencing due to having accepted mistaken ideas and beliefs such as, life has a beginning and an end. This fills him with the hopelessness that produces the bitter tears mentioned. Such a view prevents him from recognizing that life is a continuum from one dimension to another and separates him from the cosmic whole. To reunite with the cosmos, he needs to rid himself of this incorrect idea. Poof. Now my contemplations. So, I got line 1 and 3 for this contemplation yesterday. And what was there for me in both of those was me just slowing right down. And I'm so used to working, I'm so used to doing, I'm so used to posting things on social media, seeing something and creating content from it, that I put my mind on a pedestal, like the egoic parts of me. The ego I love to show how superior I am in my intellect, what I post, what I create, how I can articulately create a poignant criticism of some other kind of modality or something else, right? And in that, my gift, my son, Tommy, and also the gift of Cassie, my wife, she's on the mend and she's moving around more, which is fantastic. This is her first 40 days ended yesterday, for those of you who are familiar with the first 40 days. So the gift that they're both alive and well, the gift that this beautiful son here that I hold is an absolute delight to witness him growing up, even though he's like just a little bit over a month old. Already seeing his personality to unfold, his character, more personality. But in the context of this hexagram, it's, for me, I'll be going away with the RTCM and establishing, well, where are these beliefs and self-images that I'm still carrying? Because I can still feel myself wanting to post things online. Like I said to my client base that I have a new podcast out this month, and I can feel this push to get it done, right? I'm looking at restructuring how I do my finances, which will pull me out of the tax system, and I'm rushing to do that. What else is on the cards? I've been following someone who does a lot of crypto trading, and he has this amazing automation suite where, because for me, when I started doing crypto, doing the technical analysis was an absolute mind bore for me. I could not see myself sitting at a keyboard doing technical analysis. It just was not fun for me. For those of you who are unfamiliar with crypto, technical analysis is when you have a look at the candlesticks and you work out, well, what are the trends here? And it's accurate. And in that, I'm not going to say that. So what I'm getting from this I Ching, and I needed to do another one. I felt really compelled to record another 3 and put it in the mix of the playlist. And there was a part of me that was, oh no, John, just delete the old one and update this one. But now that I've finished it and I've read it and I can feel the different energy coming through in my voice, I want to keep it in here. I'm just going to come back to some of these highlighted bits here. A person makes true progress by ridding himself of the demons in his psyche. And from line 3, to hunt the demons, you need to use the sage. And that's where the blind spot for me is, because I got line 3 in this contemplation when I threw the coins. Is it I try and do it by myself. I try and find what's going on in myself, by myself, a demon hunting by myself, shadow hunting by myself. So, and usually I'd employ a mentor to help me find these things. But what I'm realizing is that there's something else through the sage and the helpers that can identify the correct demon that I need to slay at that moment in time. That could be blocking my clarity, blocking something else in my life that I want to move through. That's at the correct timing. A mentor doesn't always know that, especially if you have goals set up. For example, I want to scale my business. Right? I want to double my income. This needs to be a $30,000 a month. How am I going to do that? Right? I need to get money for this. I need to get money for that. What's your heart's desire, John? Oh, I love this. I love that. Right? But these are all like vanity metrics, all vanity things, which vanity is part of that egoic way. Unless it's your truth. Unless it's, yeah, that's my absolute truth. I'm going to go for this. This is something that's really built into me. But most of the time it's not. Like for me, I need very little and I deliver a lot. What else have I got here? This line may also indicate a person who wishes to act just to end the ambiguity that accompanies not acting. Instead, the person needs to inwardly ask the sage to be guided. Again, this is me, line 1. Like that tension, right? And I know for me, when I act, I get my answer. Like there's areas of my life I'm not very risk averse. I don't avoid risk. I go head first into the risk. But just to end the ambiguity of the tension of not knowing, I'll just act. do the thing, push the button, see what happens, right? So inwardly asking the sage is where I'm going to take this. I'm taking this contemplation. And for me, carrying the world on my shoulders has been a recurring theme throughout my entire life. Like my back aches. I'm even carrying Tommy right now. Right? Carrying the world on my shoulders, my responsibility. Self-image of the one, the reliable one, right? There's no one to help me but myself. And this just showed up in multiples of relationships. And it's just showing up right now with Cass. Like, no, I'm the one. No one's going to help me do this. You know, even this, hilariously, like you see this red woolen thing on my wrist. When we did a family blessing with our community, everybody put this red wool on, and it was to mean that we're all in this together, all in Cassie and my birth together. I've left it on because the birth isn't over for me yet. Like until Cassie is fully functioning, it's not over. So I want more support. Right? No one can help me but myself. I'm possibly the only person that's still wearing this, right? And there's a real image attached to that. So for me, being able to say the inner no to that and just allow the universe to give me, allow the helpers to come out of the helpers to just give me what I'm blocking, right? And this is a real test for me, going through Landmark and all this other personal development stuff where it's like, you need to ask. You need somebody to just ask. And it's like, what happens if I just say the inner no to the thing and see what happens? What happens if it's offered? What happens if it's given to me freely, right? And this is where I'm at with the I Ching right now as well, because it's still an outward action by me asking, can I just be in the hesitation? Can I just be in the thing? The word hesitate indicates that he lacks clarity. Therefore, it is unfavorable to take any outer action. Like I'm in this new beginning state. What do? I've been given an opportunity through the sun, my son, to have a new beginning. Do I want to repeat the pattern again? Because with Luca, what I did is I signed up with a mentor to get all of my life. So I signed up with a mentor to get my business sorted, made like 40 or 60 grand in the first 3 months, can't remember. But then it plateaued and I kept pushing. Like, this is work once, it's got to keep on working, right? So I have a number 2 and there was a temptation for me to sign up with this mentor again. But no, it's not. This is the cycle breaker. It's not meant to happen again. What worked before won't happen again. And I think that's a real challenge for people who are looking to get successful through the ego. They're looking for that flattery, looking for that vanity metric, right? It's not how it works anymore. It's not where we're going. And for those of you that follow me know that I usually have a pulse on where we're going next. Help us find the root phrases and images, spells and projections stored in our psyche that discourage us from making a new beginning. Okay, so this helper, I'm going to really understand this helper, whatever the name of this helper is, because it helps us find the root phrases and images, spells and projections stored in our psyche that discourage us from making a new beginning. That helper is a critical helper. It doesn't have a nice band-aidy name or the helper of cookies or the helper of whatever. It's like, no, it helps us find the root phrases and images. It's very specific. The language is specific, okay? True change is impossible so long as a person retains the false program introjected into his psyche during childhood stages of development. At each stage of development, there's an opportunity for you to grow. And if you are handicapped by incompetent parents or just unconscious parents, then you'll have a bunch of false programs in your psyche from childhood, which is why the work that I do is psychodynamic. Psychodynamic, meaning that it's in relationship with the past. It's relationship with the psyche, right? So you're looking for some root in childhood, and sometimes you don't have a specific memory because it's pre-verbal. So you just got to do your best. What's the feeling that's there? Oh, it feels heavy. It feels like this. I feel cold. I feel alone. I feel this. Sometimes it's just a sound. Ah, what's the sound of the moment? It feels like this. Right? It just sounds like a whine or something. Right? We want to give it a label, but it actually carries frequency, it carries signal, and it can unlock the body. Maybe it did when I did that. Child needs a belief system. So when you are brought up in a indoctrinated household, they give you a belief system. Like with Luca, I'm not going to show him the I Ching. I'm not going to show him human design or gene keys or anything else. He can just be naturally interested by what he hears, and then I can show him. I'm just going to say, this is the way, because his way might not be my way, right? The situation at the moment, this is so important. Anybody that's listening to this, okay? It's in the present moment that you can apply what the sage and the I Ching is presenting, right? The present moment, right here, right now, this current situation. Like, no detail of his experience is too small or insignificant. So if you're thinking that, oh, it needs to be this big thing that I have to do in order to get the learning, you don't, okay? Simple is best. The self-image might be that of the man who dominates or the woman who yields, or vice versa. This is the polarity space. So you've got to have a man that dominates, got to have a woman who yields. It's total bullshit. And this thing's back, I was saying this before, this confirmed it for me. Flattery, watch for flattery, okay? I use flattery. So watch for flattery is something that can fluff the ego into staying where you are. Right? It wants to fluff the ego to keep it in control. So hopefully you've enjoyed this updated version of number 3. Let me know if you have. Send me a message or put a comment in. I'd love to see that. All right, mad love you all. Bye.